But what we see is that the distress, number one, comes as they're getting closer to 34 Fairview.
What am I supposed to do? Run out front, my underwear, and start running yellow tape around the fire hydrant?
This is helpful, though. This is how I ultimately came to the conclusion that she was not there or immediately savvy as to whatever happened to him.
Brian, Nicole, wake up.
You say, Brian, Nicole, get up!
What about this was intriguing to you? Obviously, we see a huge increase.
Let's look at the times on this.
The defendant kissed me, not like a friend.
And what was your reaction to that?
That is 12 o'clock at Canton Library. How could this be that Brian Higgins is plowing anything? Even Gay Jeff? No way.
Gay Jeff kissed me, not like a friend. We were playing video games together.
There's nothing. It's barely. It's just a little coating. That's it.
He's not plowing. 100%. No chance. There's no reason whatsoever to be plowing. Just didn't happen.
I was kind of being a smart ass, and I dropped the plow and I did a little sweep of the driveway, and then I got out of the driveway because I didn't want to get blocked in, and I parked.
When you do the plowing in the driveway and then parking, did you see Mr. Albert arrive at the house around that time?
Yes, so I made the sweep, and as I could see the vehicle coming up, I made the sweep, got out of the way so he could park.
So he had parked in the driveway around the time that you're parking on the street.
Brian said he was first to arrive back at 34 Fairview Road, and as a result, he cleaned out a space for Brian Albert and his wife Nicole to park the vehicle they were driving in their driveway. There was only enough snow to track a cat, but you had to plow out a space for them to park. Brian stated that once inside the home located at 34 Fairview Road, he observed Brian and Nicole Albert, owners, Nicole's sister Jen and her husband Matt McCabe, as well as Brian and Nicole's children who were home at the time of everyone's arrival back from the Waterfall Bar.
Now, at some point after your arrival, who, if anyone else that you were familiar with, came by the house?
I believe it was Jen and Matt McCabe.
You know about how long it was after you arrived that they arrived?
No, I don't know. I don't think it was much longer. People started, float in at that point.
Prior to sending John a text message at 12:20, "Where are you?" Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home.
I received a text from John saying where to.
How did you respond, if at all, to Mr. O'Keefe?
I was driving, so I called him. He said where to. I gave him the address, and then I believe I, just started giving him directions, and I actually think Matt spoke over me and was saying, go this way, go this way. I said, yeah, you just go down to Fairview, it's at the bottom.
Okay.
Sam, I think it's interesting that we have Jen's heart rate. And at this particular time, at 12:15, it's at 83 beats, which I think is just a normal, active, awake heartbeat. But we're going to see something pretty cool later on. And perhaps if you believe that Jen is involved and is a killer, you would see a spike in her heart rate at some point throughout the night.
Can I tell you I told you so? Can I just say it about Jen in the morning? I'm just going to say it now before we get to it, because you don't see, I won't give it away, but her heart rate is so fun. It is such a fun exercise. It's one of my favorite exercises, but I'm just saying, okay, I'm going back.
Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home. Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home.
Well, he actually called back a second time. I instructed him that it was by a friend's house, his niece and my daughter's friend. And I said, it's right, go past Bella's street.
Brian remembers Jen being on the phone with John and giving him directions to the home.
Yes, I said, are you coming here? Followed by 3 question marks.
What time did the location data indicate that John O'Keefe's phone arrived at 34 Fairview on January 29th of 2022?
First one right to the driveway was at 12:24 and 28 seconds.
12:24 and 28.
Correct.
At 24 minutes and 59 seconds, the device is unlocked using Face ID, and the message "you coming here" is read at 25 minutes and 8 seconds. At 25 minutes and 9 seconds after midnight, the device is locked using the lock button.
This is throughout the night, and from 12:15 to 1:17, there's no real spike in it at all.
Nothing.
No. It doesn't prove or disprove anything, but at least you're seeing a baseline with regard to her heart rate, according to her monitor.
This is helpful, though. This is how I ultimately came to the conclusion that she was not there or immediately savvy as to whatever happened to him.
That's a heart rate 330. What about this was intriguing to you? Obviously, we see a huge increase.
Let's look at the times on this. You would expect to see this increase. This group should have been in the space just before that, right? Because you would expect to see an increase in that time between when Karen calls and then they're out looking for John, because that's when there's some reason as time goes on to get to feel distress. But what we see is that the distress, number one, comes as they're getting closer to 34 Fairview, physically in space and time. And then look at this, 6:42. This is after John has been taken away. So you would expect this is when she would start to feel relief, because now the urgency, the man, we got to get into the ambulance, is now in the ambulance. And so any normal person would be like, okay, well, at least that part is over. But not Jen McCabe. No, she starts to experience distress at that point.
Okay, so let's be clear. At 6:02, we have a reading of 91 beats, which is increasing from what we saw, which was like in the 80s. The next reading is at 6:42. I don't know why there's not a reading between 6:02 and 6:42. Maybe she wasn't alive then, or her heart wasn't beating. Everyone thinks she has a black heart or no heart. So we don't have a reading, so you have to be fair to the data. Why would someone's heart rate get to 122 at all?
Obviously, this would be the time when we would expect to see, an escalation in stress because they're trying to get John help.
Yeah, I don't think this harms her. You don't see is this spike at the time when we're claiming John. That too. You don't see it during the time that she's allegedly Googling, and she sleeps like a baby. I mean, it goes down to like the 60s. There's no spike like in the middle of the night or something like that. And I don't know, this seems to me like the natural course of action. If you just gave someone CPR and it really was a friend that was harmed, you would see this type of reaction. I think it's more relevant to me from the time period at like 12:05 to 12:35 where John is killed, that there isn't this spike that we're seeing here. But you took this as to be, it's nefarious, this part.
Yes.
And what we didn't review yesterday was the phone calls that were being made at the very time Jen's heart rate is spiking. You can see she's calling Matt McCabe. She's speaking with Matt McCabe. She called the Uncle Brian right before calling Matt McCabe at 6:23. We know that the monitor starts picking up the heart rate at 6:42. We did some research as to why an Apple Watch would not pick up heart rate if the actual wrist is moving fast. For example, if you're giving CPR, then you would not actually see any type of registering of the heart rate. Also, we could see at 6:03, Jen McCabe calls 911.
I need someone to come to 34 Fairview Road in Canton, Mass. There's a man passed out in the snow.
You're in Canton? Hold on. I'm going to transfer over to Canton, please.
I think he's dead. We need, you got to get here ASAP, okay?
I'm going to transcend line. I'm going to transfer to Canton.
Okay. Where are the blankets? I don't see blankets, Terry.
911, what's the emergency? Hey,
yes, I need someone to come immediately to 34 Fairview Road, Canton, Mass.
What's going on?
There's a guy unresponsive in the snow. We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
Okay, that's his girlfriend. His name is John O'Keefe.
Okay, how old is he?
John is 46 years old.
46? How long has he been outside?
I don't know. I don't know. He got out of the car and...
That's an interesting admission. He got out of the car.
He got out of the car.
Wonder if she meant to say that.
Is he breathing?
A couple of hours. Is he... Terry? Is he... I don't know if he's breathing. There are two women trying to do his body heat, and they're hysterical.
Okay, can you just try to ask him? I know it's tough, but we already have the fire department going. They just got to know if he's breathing.
Is he breathing, you guys? No. It doesn't seem to be breathing.
Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to attempt CPR?
You guys, Terry, can you guys do CPR? No, I guess he's gone.
Okay. They don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think she's passed away.
If everyone's declining CPR, then I'll hang up with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back.
What a 911 operator. If he comes back alive, give me a call back. We know the Apple Watch picked up a significant change at 6:02.
You're right. The one thing that saves her here is that we don't have the data from the 40 minutes before. But to me, this is a time where you would expect to experience great relief, not when you would expect to experience great escalation, because he has just gotten the help that he needed, right?
I totally disagree, but I get what you're trying to say. Like, you would see 15 or 20 minutes where we're seeing like this huge spike and we don't know what's going on right before. I would imagine if you're giving someone CPR, or as you pointed out, she's at least over a dead body, it's going to flip you the fuck out.
Well, so that's true. Exactly. That's kind of my point. You would expect to see that. Like I said, the only thing that saves her is we don't have that time when that happens. We're getting the time after that happens. 6:02 to 6:42, she's already in the house. She's now with her sister, waking them up.
She says, "Shut up, Karen, shut up. Why are you screaming at me like this? And where's Jen?"
After the officer arrives, what happened then?
Karen just ran around screaming my name, Jen, Jen. Kerry's name, Kerry, Kerry. Is he dead? Is he dead? It was on repeat. More officers started to arrive. The EMTs, they began to work on him. And Miss Reed just continued to run around screaming. In the back of the police cruiser, Karen was sitting in there. I kind of scooched myself in. Karen grabbed our hands. She asked us to pray. She looked at her hands and she had blood. She asked us if she could have gotten her period. And then one of the police officers asked me to go into the house and to wake up my sister and my brother-in-law. Front door. I went up the stairs to their bedroom.
Those are the actual stairs Hen traveled up to actually wake up her brother-in-law and sister. However, the entire time, allegedly, they were both sleeping while all that commotion was going on their front lawn.
I saw my sister and Brian, and they were both asleep.
And that is where all the magic happens. That is the actual bedroom of Brian and Nicole Albert.
I was awoken that morning to my sister-in-law, Jen, burst into my room.
You indicated that when you went through their bedroom door, you sort of burst through.
I opened the door. I don't know if I used the word burst.
Burst in.
You previously indicated that when you went through the door, it was chaotic because you were so amped up from the events. Is that right?
I don't know if I used those words. I go over to the bed and I'm calling out their names.
Would you say that you were loud or quiet?
I was kind of in just a state of shock, and I remember thinking, I don't want to startle them, but I have to wake them up.
Yeah, why bother startling them? There's only a dead guy on their front lawn.
Because obviously when I wake them up, they're going to be panicked and think something terrible happened.
Well, why didn't you want to startle them? Something terrible had happened.
I didn't want to give them a heart attack when I woke them up.
But you didn't walk up and just nudge them and say, "Hey, Nicole."
No, I was like, Brian, Nicole, wake up, wake up.
You were saying, Brian, Nicole, get up.
I'm not sure if it was that loud, but I definitely was, definitely like trying to wake them up, yes. Brian responded first, and he was very, startled and looked at me like, what is going on? I think it took Nicole a little bit longer than Brian to wake up. We just found John out front. I could have possibly said John has died.
She said, John's out front. I think John's dead out front.
We just found John out front.
She said something to the effect, John is dead.
They were very confused. At one point, I think Brian was like, who's John?
I'm like, who? I didn't know.
You still didn't piece it together.
I didn't understand what she was talking about, because why would John be out front of my...
Brian's so cute when he uses classic gaslighting technique, which basically means you deny everything that you know occurred, making the other person feel like they're the dumb ones.
They'd just woken up and they had no idea what I was talking about.
And because he lives in Canton, which is full of dopes except for Lucky Loughran, he's been able to get away with that for all these years.
They were both shocked, confused, not understanding.
What was the dog's reaction?
I don't recall seeing the dog.
Ruh-roh.
I didn't do it.
I'm a good dog. I didn't do it.
To the dog, at least, a relative stranger walks in the front door, climbs a set of stairs. The house is completely dark. Walks into a bedroom door. The person starts barking, "Get up! Wake up! Brian! Nicole!" And you don't remember seeing or hearing a dog at all.
great questioning by Alan, and if you listen closely, he refers to Hen McCabe as the dog barking.
Walks into a bedroom door, the person starts barking.
But it is a good point. Where the hell was Chloe?
It was early in the morning, between 6 and 6:30, I would say.
There are police officers, EMTs on your front lawn. You're an officer. Why don't you just go outside and investigate or take a look?
I'm not a Canton police officer. I'm a Boston police officer.
Because I'm not a Canton police officer, I can't just go out and render aid to someone who's dying on my lawn. Duh.
I was just woken up out of a cold sleep. Cold sleep.
Get up, wake up, Brian, Nicole.
From hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It made zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out front in my underwear and start running yellow tape around the fire hydrant?
And we don't even have the data, so it doesn't make a difference, just speculating. But clearly has a higher heart rate technically than any other point throughout the night. You know, Sam, what I wanted to see was when she was standing up and clapping when John came into the bar. I wanted to see what the heart rate was then. Yeah, that is Hen McCabe. She gets up on the chair and she starts clapping. She's excited. She's a little social butterfly. She's so happy that they're there. She's clapping, all excited, and that happens. There's nothing wrong with that, but that gives you an indication of the type of person and or relationship she had with John O'Keefe. We don't have it in this particular exhibit, but did you see her before that video? Her reaction, John and Karen coming in?
Did the heart rate, or have I seen that? Of course, yeah.
No, the video when you knew that before, like she was
yeah.
like cheer. Oh, I thought I discovered the Americas when I saw that. I'm like, oh, Jen's like really happy, and I get it. Like you've probably done it before, where someone shows up somewhere and you're like happy, like you didn't know if they were coming or not. Like I totally get that vibe. I wasn't getting some nefarious, I'm gonna try and kill John vibe from that video.
No, she loved them. If John had gone into the house, she would have probably had a really strong reaction to it in exactly the same way. She would have been thrilled to see him, like, yeah, hey, she loved John. And I think it's very clear how much she liked them, that she was literally up on a chair, like screaming and clapping when they walked in the waterfall.
That's an interesting point. So can you back it up a little bit just so we can see her heart rate during the time when she was looking for him? It's pretty low. 1249, I see 66. 1255, 70. Like there's nothing.
The only time it gets higher would be right here, like 1210, but it's still.
She's leaving. She's not in the car yet. She didn't call him. She's calling him at 1214. How come it registers sometimes and then not others on these Apple Watches?
Who the hell knows? It's a good
question. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny when someone asks a question about a car. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not. Look how my hands have no marks on them. I'm not a real man. I don't know shit about cars. Yeah, I don't know why sometimes, but here you could see that her heart rate doesn't flutter until after. I mean, you have to be realistic with the data.
Till the 5 o'clock hour, right? 5:38. That's approximately the time where where Karen would have been showing up right in front of her house with Carrie.
I hear Emily screaming somewhere because she probably knows exactly where she was at the time. But yeah, they haven't found them yet. They haven't been to 34 Fairview yet. So where else could they have been? They're either driving back to John's house.
Yes.
And then back to 34 Fairview by 6:02. If you were Jen and a friend came to you with this situation, you probably wouldn't be worried that much where your heart rate's going to increase. One, it's not like your family. It's not your child. But also you think John's probably just banging another floozy in the neighborhood like he usually does, right?
Correct.
Like you don't want to tell Karen that, but you see it gets real for her heart, according to this data, obviously after 6:02.
You can join Sam and me for a nooner every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, where we review only the Karen Reed case in very great detail. It's live, it's fun, and we'll see you there. But no matter what, we will never ever stop producing these videos until the real killer,
Brian Higgins,
is brought to justice.
The defendant kissed me, not like a friend.
And what was your reaction to that?